We are live. We are live. We are live. Hello. We're going to do our
Okay,
second
hello.
interview, right? All right. Go ahead, Beena. Go ahead.
Uh, Hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to our regular lives because today is not Sunday and we'll continue our regular thing, I hope. Yesterday we were practicing capital P practice of for the live, sorry, for the podcast. So
What happened? Where'd you go? Beena? What happened?
I don't know.
Keep going. Keep going. I don't know what happened. You just stopped talking.
Oh, I was talking. I don't know. Okay, maybe some sound. Anyway, so I was just saying that. Okay, so yesterday we were doing capital P practice of for the podcast coming soon, and Syl will be there. And of course, the practice was just for the first podcast, of course, not the rest, because it will be a series, and they are going to telecast again and again, like 200 times, and that is a big deal, of course. But of course, the first one is different, and the rest will be different for me, at least. This is what I understand, because the first one is about introduction of the person, in this case, of course, Syl, and the rest is going to be like, okay, he is going to share what his ideologies and everything is about. So, but yesterday's experience was not so appropriate because of lack of my experience. I never actually did this thing, and I don't watch interviews much. What I do watch, of course, I listen to people I like and follow, and they are mostly just sharing things, and I'm very much attuned to listening to them.
Wow.
But as the first interview, to giving
Well, that's good.
ideas.
What is the intent of just interviewing, or in this case, what is the intent?
Yes. So for
What is the looking to accomplish?
okay, so the first, of course, the main intent is to practice because it is going to happen professionally. It is going to happen soon. So it was just my idea that yeah, I was keen to do that. I was asking because you don't need practice much. So you are very much.
Your voice is going away. You're probably far from the mic or something.
Oh, okay. So I was just saying that
There you go.
okay, you are very much attuned and of course in practice and comfortable with sharing,
Yeah.
and you don't need that for that practice. The practice was to stay in time because you are doing your things and you have all the liberty to go as long as you want to, and you can, of course, you can keep it short, but it was never actually, I have never experienced that. So for me, the practice was, the intent was to share maximum in just 30 minutes. But
Wow.
also that the second intent was that it is about the first podcast, which needs, or at least this is what my thinking is, it needs to be first about who you are. Who am I listening to as a viewer or as a listener? That
Wow.
who am I actually talking with? Who am I just here? And he's going to share with me who he really is. So that is the first thing. And the second, of course, is that okay, uh, how much and what actually he has to share with the world. And then, of course, the third thing that, okay, how these things actually started. So the middle question for me is kind of like, okay, you can just say a bit and then skip over. So then you can share that, okay, this is what I want to share. This is what my thinking was, which was, of course, not very clear. We just jump into that. We were not prepared. And yesterday it was like, okay, we were not, um, actually, we were not intending to do the live. So that was my understanding, that we are not going to do live to yesterday. And oh, I'm hearing myself back.
But just keep going. It's when I switch to viewing the comments, it always comes every time. So just ignore it and just
Mhm.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. So now I understand. So that is the thing, that okay, it's a bit tricky position, because what comes first and what comes later. It's so all connected, especially in the case of Syl. It is all so much connected. What
Yes.
he do, this is who he is.
Yes.
So it's a bit tricky position to actually go into the formal or in a regular format of interview. But this is what is going to, at least this is what I expect, that okay, this is what is going to happen. In the first podcast, again, the emphasis on the first one is about introduction, who you are. And that is
Yeah.
something I
Yeah.
was keen to ask you. And for me, three main type of questions. The first, personal intro, like a bio. Second, what you have to share. And third thing, how all these things came to you, coming back to your personal thing again. So it is personal, then what is the product, and then going back to personal again.
Ah,
This is the form that we have. It's a triangular form. And then of course the rest of the podcast is going to be all about the philosophies and ideologies and whatever you have. This is what my understanding is. So it's a bit tricky thing. I don't know how to manage this, and I'm keen to
what is
ask
tricky, Beena? What is tricky? I'm not understanding.
to actually set this question pattern for you, because
Just
it is
ask from the intent of you want to know. That's it. Ask what
this
you
is what
want to know.
this is what I ask, and
Yeah.
and it was not clear for me because it was going into all the things what you do actually.
Well, they combined. Who I am and what I do is the same thing. See?
But so then make it clear,
But
make it more
again,
obvious
Beena, if you're
for the new
practicing
people.
being an interviewer, you've got to practice rolling with whatever comes. Yes? I mean, this is what
Yes.
our intent is here. We're practicing interviewing, both you as an interviewer, me as being interviewed, right? In preparation for the podcast. Now, all right, you aren't going to be doing interviewing on the podcast, but doesn't matter. Just
Yes.
this is just a good skill to practice, right? So it's just clarity of intent. This is all the interview is about. You want to know what the person is about. That includes themselves, and what they do, and what the point of the focus of the podcast is, right? That's it. Very simple. See? So
Yeah,
just
it is
focus
not
on that.
simple when you are doing, no, when you are doing this, it is not simple, because I don't know how to actually, because I want to learn that. And I don't know how to ask you a very specific question, and keep you limited on that specific question, so I can ask you a second question for my clarity, for the
Well,
viewers' clarity.
that's it. So don't think of it as an interview. Think of it that you want to know something. What is it that you want to know or know about?
This is what I asked yesterday. Yes, this
Right,
is what
but
I
I
was
mean, in
asking
the
yesterday.
overall,
I
Bina,
want to
in the
know that who that
overall,
person.
right, in the overall, you want to know about me and what I do, correct?
Yes, yes.
Well, then just keep following, asking follow-up questions. That's all. Just ask for more. Ask, for refinement, to elaborate, whatever. You just asked about
Mm.
one specific aspect. Yes, it included everything else, but it doesn't mean that you can't ask the same question again in a different way to get a different answer, right?
Yeah, that's why I was thinking that okay, I'm not prepared for this, and I don't think so that right now I'm fit for that
You
particular
are, you
practice,
are.
because
I'm just simply saying you're making it complicated when it isn't. Just do it. That's all.
it is for me.
Stop
It is
thinking
for me.
about it.
It is no, but it is for me.
But when we have lives in general, and you ask questions and you want to know stuff, what's the difference?
Then we don't have time restriction. Then we don't have that stress, of course. And then
But
you
why
you
is the
keep
time
going
an
on.
issue? Just
I don't
ask,
have any.
just keep asking questions until the time runs out, and then you say goodbye. We'll continue tomorrow. I don't understand.
So then
See?
this is what happened actually. This last 5 minutes was not okay. I was not prepared
Okay,
for the
let's
next
turn it
question. That's
around.
it.
I'll interview you starting right now. Welcome.
No, no,
No, why
no,
not?
nope,
Why
nope,
not?
nope,
Why not?
nope, no. I don't want to. No, I
Well, what
don't
I'm
want
saying
to.
is, Bina, that's not
Yes,
complicated, and it really is very simple. And I don't know why it has to be
it
made
is a bit.
complicated.
No, it is. No, it is a bit complicated for me
How? How
because
is
I'm
it
not used to with
complicated?
that. I don't know. I'm not getting it right. That
Bina,
how to
Bina,
do
Bina,
this.
let me say what it is. and take the complication out. You want to
Hmm.
know about me and what I do. End of story. Then just ask. Ask that. And then as I say stuff, then you say, "Oh, okay, you mentioned this concept of trust without trusting. Can you elaborate on that? I didn't quite get that. What do you mean by that? What is it about?" See what I mean? You just ask as the things flow. You don't have to have a list of questions. You want to know, and then you just keep until you're satisfied that you know. And when time runs out, then you just carry on next time. Simple. Yeah. I mean, what's
Okay, maybe,
complicated about that?
maybe. No, but maybe I'm not prepared yet. So maybe, okay,
What do
we
you
will
need
do
to
it some
prepare,
other time.
Beena? Do you have?
I'm not getting it. No, because I know things and I'm not getting it right.
All
So
right,
this
I'll
is what I'm
interview
saying.
myself then. All right, I'll interview myself then.
Oh,
I'm
okay,
serious
okay,
because
that is
I'm really
interesting.
kind of puzzled at why you think this is so complicated. If you just remove that idea, and this is let's talk about that topic actually. We kind of go with appropriateness. If we believe something is complicated, we tend to make it complicated in our heads. Like in this case,
Of course.
right? It's
No,
so
not
so
in this case.
simple that Venus
Not in
struggling
this
to
case.
you struggling
Not
to
in this
grasp it. This
case.
is very simple.
Not in this case because I was doing it. It is not a belief. I was doing it.
Well,
I
do it
try
on
to
some
do
more.
it.
Our intent
No,
here is,
but
Bina, to do the interview number 2 today. Well, let's do it now.
okay, but this is a more interesting idea to actually interview yourself because then I will see how you are doing this.
All right. So, interview. All right. So, let's start our interview. All right. Welcome, Syl Sabastian. Welcome to this live over here. I'm going to be interview. We'll just call me interviewer for now. That will be my name, interviewer. All right. So,
Mhm.
as the interviewer, I want to know what you are about.
Okay.
Wow. All right. Well, that's an interesting question. What am I about? Yes, it's a very
Mhm.
broad question. Well, what I'm about, I'm going to give you a very simple answer. What I'm about is the application of what I do in my personal life. No difference, right? So that's what I'm about.
Mhm.
I'm about applying what it is that I do. Yep. And also, what I am gets applied in what I do. Works both ways. Yes. So, who
Mhm.
I am and what I am gets reflected in my daily living. My daily living, my doings get reflected back into me. In this case, things like writing books, running self change and life change programs, right? And
Mhm.
and even my business stuff, which I also do other business things just from an income point of view. It doesn't matter how I do that reflects who I am, right? And this
Mhm.
is it goes both ways. It's very powerful to live what you do and do what you live. Yes, this is very very powerful, and this is the core concept underlying Nobelia-Living, which is now an encapsulation of all of this, right? Now, I've said it very, very basically, very basically. Yes. All right. So
Mhm.
back to interviewer. Maybe I must look the other way. So, all right. Interviewer. Yeah. All right. That's very interesting, Syl Sabastian. Can you elaborate a bit more? You said, you mentioned Nobelia-Living. And what does that mean? I have no idea. Never heard this before. Don't know what Nobelia is. Don't know what it means. What do you think that is? I said, Ma, you know what? I think I'm going to get assistance because in what I do, I also get, now it's Syl again. In what I do, I also get great assistance and share all of this with somebody. And they happen to be here and they can actually tell you a bit about Nobelia-Living.
Right.
So let's hear. This person I'm talking about is Beena. What do you think Nobelia-Living is, Beena?
Wow. I was not prepared again for that. But okay. Yes, for me, Nobelia-Living is the most refined and personalized way of being, where you actually practice the the supreme good qualities of any ideal culture and society, where you actually implement and live by them. This is
Mm,
what Nobelia-Living is for me.
yes, yes, yes. To
Where things
elaborate
are
on
not
that,
just too ideal or too idealistic, where things and ideas are not too impractical and just fictional, where all the ideas all the good character attributes are very much practical and implemented.
That's very interesting. So this is a society that, or an ideal that is built around ideals, but attainable, practical, implementable ideals, not just ideas that are pie in the sky. Yes.
Yes.
All right. To elaborate on that, what Beena said, from my point of view, yes. Nobelia, well, Nobelia is a world in my writing. Yes, it is a world on which the new nobility live, right? And it's part of the agglomeration, which is in a different galaxy. And it's a long story of how this came to be. They came from Earth to seed the stars. And this was a big project of sending people out there to represent humanity and start all over again. And this was the roots of the people who joined, who started in that galaxy. And the noble ideal was part of the idea to take it there. Now, when they started, it's a long story, it's a fun story, but we'll just get to the end point of it, where Nobelia is this planet on which the new nobility live. Now, why they called the new nobility? New, very important, because they have nothing to do with heredity and titles. Why nobility? Because their culture revolves around the implementation and application and being and pursuit and anything connected to being noble, nobleness in its pure true sense. In other words, none of the nonsense with titles and all that stuff, right? Nothing of that. So truly being noble. But in order to be noble, yeah, you have to really have your character in tune. You have to have yourself squared away. You have to have sophistication and refinement and grace and all sorts of wonderful qualities in order to actually be noble. So the pursuit of being noble, you first have to set your groundwork, and this is a massive project, and this is key because this society is a society that's not only built around this pursuit of nobleness and application of it wherever possible, but also what gets you to be able to do that. So it's a culture and a society where those in the society, and it's a voluntary society, which makes a very big difference, right? You come and join it voluntarily. All of those in the society are massively keen and on self growth and self improvement and life change and being the most that you can be, right? This is a big deal. So, those in the society, this is what drives them. This is their passion. This is their need almost. Yes, this is what they think about day in, day out. And the whole society is made up of those that are focused on this. Now, does it make them all the same? Absolutely not, right? They're all fantastically individual because self growth, life change, self improvement, anything in that is a massively individual undertaking. However, they have come to understand that when you collaborate doing this, the results are profound. Right? There's massive, massive value to collaborate. And the main way that they do collaborate is they do lots of activities, but through sharing. Right? So it's a culture that is very, very sharing based and collaboration based. It's also a culture in which the superiority paradigm is not present. And there's an awareness of what the superiority paradigm is. And it says, no, we don't want that. In other words, there's no competitiveness between individuals for, hierarchy and ranking and status and ego and none of that stuff, right? It's completely there. No comparativeness, in other words, right? No jockeying for position, no pulling anybody down or pushing anybody down. No, this is not a culture where you're competing with your fellow human beings for status and hierarchy. No, this is a culture where you celebrate difference, not just acknowledge and accept, but celebrate. Right? This is a massively profound culture. Yes, it's a long answer to say what this culture is because it's a culture. There's no way to short circuit this when you're talking about a new culture, a completely different alternative culture, particularly one that breaks the norms of expectation. Right? When we say culture, we automatically assume, well, okay, underlying it all, maybe this is a culture in which family is prized. But if you still can have family and it's still got hierarchy and you got dominance and all this stuff in the family, well, it doesn't matter if it's a matriarchal dominance culture like hyenas or a male hierarchy like lions, what difference does it make? Still hierarchy, right? So different cultures, if they use the same paradigm, they're not really different. It's just the superficialities are different. But when you have a truly different paradigm, right, then it's a whole other ball of wax, right? So it's an alternative paradigm culture, not just a different culture. So Nobelia culture is about trust and respect. And why is that important? Because as part of the culture, a very important issue that there's automatic trust and there's automatic respect that the intent of those that are in the culture, their intent is always good. It's a nobleness culture. How can you be pursuing nobleness and training for this end goal of being able to be noble and apply nobility as appropriate, right? Which is bonus goodness, really, right? You can't do that unless you have a deep, deep, deep intent to goodness. And this is combined with the intent to moreness, right? The intent to moreness here being moreness of self, moreness of growth, moreness of understanding, moreness of awareness, moreness of application, moreness of sophistication. Yes. So they are just looking to apply that moreness in their lives in order to fulfill this intent. Now, when you're doing this, of course, that intent to goodness is the core component of everything. And it's taken for granted because everybody who's there shares this commonality. Therefore, the respect and the trust. When I'm interacting with somebody, Beena, right? And Beena does something odd and peculiar. I'm like, Beena, really? Seriously? Did you now really do that? I said, man, there must be a good reason because I know Beena has a deep intent to goodness. See? So I don't get offended, I don't get bothered, I don't get annoyed, I don't get stressed because of that trust and respect for the intent to goodness. This is an incredible difference. Yes. Look at how often we get annoyed and irritated with people. Why? Because we think they're not being nice, or in other words, which is not being good. Yeah. We think that they're nonsense reasons for why they do things. But on Nobelia, there's an automatic trust that there is people are doing this for really good reason. Now I may go and say to Beena might say, well, all right, I just forgot, I just slipped up, I regressed into my old self or whatever. All right, fine. It wasn't intentional, in other words. No problem. See, okay, we learn, we grow, it was a mistake, whatever. Not a problem. It's not an issue. That's how we learn. And I'm happy. I'm happy to be a part of the assistance in the learning. It's fantastic culture, collaboration, see, support, always, always, always. A very, very different culture. And this is what the whole thing is about. Now, I've just touched on a few aspects of the culture, and maybe, we could say, what about more specific things? And like what? Beena, you have any questions about any specific parts of Nobelia culture that you want to talk about?
I just want to know more about that. It's a bit unclear for me that is it a utopian society or is it a story you have created to provide us some examples for so we can actually live here? Or is it
Brilliant,
really
brilliant.
an idea to create something out there and then just go and practice and live by nobility only at Nobelia?
Okay, that's like three or four questions, but all right, no worries. I'll try and answer them as best I can, if I can remember them. All right, first of all, you asked, is it a utopian society? Yes. However, right, when we use this term utopian society, it has come to mean unrealistic. This is a utopian society. However, it is also realistic. This is very important. So this on Nobelia in the story, yes, it's a beautiful planet and they got wonderful gardens like behind me all over, etc. Now, is this practically attainable? Absolutely. Yes, it just would take, time, effort, passion, wealth, cost, but it's totally doable, right? Now, secondly, this has been a planet that's been there for centuries, right? Can we bring this to our Earth here? Yes. And over time, we could get there. What does it require? It requires the intent. Yes, the intent. Now, keep in mind, to bring Nobelia to Earth is a bit difficult for the whole planet because Nobelia is not for everybody. It's not exclusive. It's not elite. No, it's just about interest and passion. If your interest and passion is something else, well, let's say engineering, right? This is what fulfills you from day in. Then this is not necessarily the place for you, right? Because you want to be focused on the engineering, not so much on self-improvement and understanding and awareness and all of this stuff, right? So therefore, this is a big shift here. Now, in the agglomeration of which Nobelia is a planet, it's one planet, and there are many other planets where there are different focuses, and some are just general, where you can pursue whatever it is that you want to do. This is what the agglomeration is set up to be. Now we could put agglomeration as all of Earth, where you can pursue what you want to, and you could have different countries, different societies within this, like we have now, that are focused on this. So just on a smaller scale, but totally, totally doable, absolutely doable. And the story is showing exactly this interactivity, right? It's following Biella, who's showing these delegates to the planet who want to understand what the new nobility are all about, because their planets, they're from planets that are wanting to join the agglomeration. So they want to know what the new nobility about, because the new nobility are very central and very key and very core to the entire agglomeration. So she shows them what it is to be a new noble. And this is very powerful, right? She shows them what the new nobility are about and what it is to be a new nobility. So, yeah, you get to see the practicality of it, the implementation by example. It's very simple. So there's not much to it, really. It simply requires an intent, really, at underlying of the members. And when we have this clear understanding of what the intent is and what the parameters are, and also when the members that are pursuing this have good character, yes, in other words, they have things like integrity and conscience, and they're honest, right, and practice self-honesty, then you've got the culture that is going to maintain itself and be strong and be solid and be easy and be practical. Yes, when you have things like ambition that come into it. Yes, and ambition, especially in the context of the superiority paradigm, where it's win, you win, 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 and by implication, win at all costs. Yeah. Well, then you start to lose your morality, you lose your integrity, you step over the lines of your conscience in order to get ahead, yes, and satisfy those ambitions. Ambitions, not an issue on, not a thing on Nobelia. Aspirations, yes. But again, aspirations are personal. They don't involve anybody else, really. Yes. It's me pursuing what's important to me. And ambition is very much relative to others, yes, and how they view you and accomplishment, approval, attention, status, things like that, right? And when that's involved, you now have to, or it's so very easy to do things which step over those boundaries and makes for issues because when you satisfy your ambition, it's typically so at the cost of somebody else. Yeah. Winning culture. If I win, everybody else loses. It's not an ideal system. It's a terrible system, actually, right? But on Nobelia, everybody wins, if you want to use that, because they're all learning. They're all growing. They're all furthering and enhancing and developing their awareness, their discernment, their understanding, their ability to apply this, right? And they get to practice with each other. It's just win, 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 win all around, right? Now they don't even use that term because winning is a relative term, right? It's just benefit all around, benefit, benefit, benefit. So this is the practicality. It's simply changing the intent, the goal of what it is that you're trying to accomplish and achieve. Yes, most people are trying to achieve and accomplish something that's a little bit hollow. Yes, status and all of this stuff. When you have status, that means that you are getting it's based on the approval, admiration, whatever of others, the thinking of others, the beliefs of others. So, in other words, your status is dependent on others. So, acquiring status is also acquiring dependency, which also makes you vulnerable. Foolish system. Yeah. So, this is a system that can be applied in any context. You can have this as a corporate culture, for instance. I mean, incredible corporate culture, right? Instead of competing with everybody, because in a corporate culture, yes, you're competing with other corporations, but people compete within the corporation with each other. This is a fantastically horrible waste of human resources. Yes, jockeying for position, seeing who can get the most attention, the most shine, the most credit, whatever. Right? Terrible. Work together, rather. Work together. Work together. Collaborations. 1 + 1 is equal more. Does that help? I think we're out of time. I think we're out of time. No,
Yes.
no, we got a little more. We got a little more. Let's see. -30 is only 7. Oh no, we got another 10 minutes. All right, we got another 10 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So does that answer the question there, Beena, that you were asking about
Yes.
more on Nobelia-Living?
Yes.
Can I go into more detail? Absolutely. Yeah. I
Oh,
mean,
yes.
I can go as granular as you like. Yeah. I think what I want to do is, because I'm actually kind of hungry. I went for a blood test, so I haven't eaten yet. So I want to kind of wrap things up a little bit. But let's
Okay.
take a few things that are really special to Nobelia-Living. And for one thing, it is their language, right? They have a very specific dictionary of power, each individual, right? So it's Beena's dictionary of power, Syl's dictionary of power. There is a general consensus one, but what is this dictionary of power? The dictionary of power is about conceptions, like I was saying, respect and trust. Now, this would be nobelia trust, nobelia respect, which is slightly different. It's still the same thing, but it's just a bit more or enhanced or a bit more nuanced, or they're just a bit more clear about it. Yes, so it's not different to the regular way we use trust. It's very easy to understand. But by saying it's nobelia trust, by implication, it is slightly different. There's a moreness to it. Ne? Now, what is that moreness with nobelia trust and regular trust? Regular trust is just, oh well, you just say I'm going to trust, and you don't do anything to minimize the risk, because whenever you're trusting, there's risk involved. Yes. So mostly when we just take regular trust, people trust kind of because, well, it's very convenient. They don't, okay, I'm going to trust it will work out, which really, when you think about it, when they say, oh, I'll just trust it's going to work out, that's a hope and a wish that it will work out, right? Which is kind of foolish when you think about it. You taking quite a big chance, right? Yeah. Uh, oh, all right, Norma. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, we're just having a chat about this interview now. Just responding to Norma real quick. So we see we gotta take time to respond to comments. I don't know if that will be on the interview or not. Maybe call-ins. Maybe I don't know. Anyway, so trust, when you do it as a hope and a wish, it's not. It's kind of trust, yes, but it's also a hope and a wish. However, Nobelia Trust says, I'm going to do absolutely everything I can to minimize the risk involved in trust. Whenever you're trusting, you're taking a chance. Right? It may or may not work out. Trust is hoping that it will, but trusting is a little bit more than hope. Yes, you sort of taking it for granted that it'll work. Why can you take this for granted in Nobelia Trust, or at least have some confidence in it? Because you've done everything that you can. You've done all your homework. You've been conscious. You've been conscientious, scrupulous, diligent, thorough, etc. Right? You've done absolutely everything you can do. Nothing left to do. Only thing left to do is trust. Now you can trust, because that trust becomes an intent, part of your original intent, right? You started, we did everything. Part of it is setting the intent, having the clarity of intent first, then setting the intent, then doing everything to be able to implement that intent. The part of it that you can't do anything about, that you leave up to the universe, all right, you're trusting that the universe is going to assist you. Why do you do this? And why do you have confidence that this can happen? Because you know, if what you are doing is justifiable by way of intent, it's legitimate, it's not bogus, it's not nonsense, right? It's not crappy. This now, say, okay. And if you, especially if you did it in attunement as well, wow, with attunement, now you're bringing in a whole lot of complicated concepts here. Yes, capital T trust or Nobelia trust is a big, big, big deal, and it involves their entirety of how they live. And I was utilizing Nobelia trust as an example of a conception and a practical implementation of what would be in that dictionary of power. Same thing with concepts like attunement. Yes, not atonement, attunement, two different things. My spell check always says, "Oh, do you mean atonement?" No, I don't mean atonement. That's something else entirely. It has nothing to do with attunement. Anyway, now when you look at this dictionary of power, it is a dictionary there where everything is interconnected. You can't be applying capital T trust or Nobelia trust without applying attunement. Yes, they go together. You also won't be able to apply it without applying impeccability. Applying impeccability, right? If you're not impeccable in your preparation, in your doings, in doing everything you can, well, then you're leaving things up to chance. See? And then you reduce the ability to truly trust, right? Or not the ability, but you bringing greater risk into it, and you're making your trust more risky. But capital T trust is saying, I've done everything I can do. Nobelia trust, everything I can do. Now it's up to the universe. And I trust because I've been impeccable and I did all my homework that things will work out. Yes. This is a very powerful deal, but we're minimizing that, right? So Nobelia trust is about the underlying fundamentals of applying impeccability and attunement, and then you living that, and you've done everything you can. When you get to that point where you can't do anymore, that's Nobelia trust. Yeah? So it's founded on something. It's not just a hope and a wish. It's got this massive backbone to it, this massive foundation to it, right? It's got legs, it's got strength. Yes, it's got potency. Does that make sense, Beena?
Yes.
All right. Well, there we go. Time's up. Let's end it right there then. Right. Since I'm doing interviewing myself, thank you very much, Syl Sabastian, for coming. That was
Yes.
enlightening, and I want to hear more. I know it's only half an hour, but we've got 10 of these half an hour interviews to go, and I want to hear more about this. This is a fascinating concept. This is a fascinating world. This is a fascinating society, and it's not just about the world and the society. What makes it really fascinating is that you said that this is something that we, us as regular, ordinary people, can apply in our daily lives. Yes, absolutely. We can. Wonderful. All right. On that note, we'll end our interview and
Yes.
we'll speak to you all tomorrow.
Yes.
Bye bye, everybody.
Oh, yes. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for being here. See you guys tomorrow.
Bye bye.
Happy.
And meeting for all.